Breaking news, everyday news on Prince Miller Entertainment TV. Today is the 13th of October at 2025. Guys, like, share, comment, and follow everywhere on all our social media platforms. Facebook, it's Prince Miller Entertainment. We're also available on our YouTube channel, which is Prince Miller Entertainment TV. So, guys, here's a full detail of Vice President Chiwenga'S Politburo presentation, which happened on the 17th of September 2025. It is also leaked online, and so I'm gonna read here. Yes. So, first, Comrade President, we undertook Operation Restore Legacy with a secured mandate to reclaim our nation from the jaws of corruption and to restore the dignity, prosperity, and sovereignty of Zimbabwe for its people. Comrade President, in November 2017, we took a bold and necessary step to remove former President Robert Mugabe from power because he sought to manipulate our constitution for personal gain. He allowed certain individuals and family to seize his executive authority and abuse it. He ignored the suffering of the people while a corrupt elite looted with impunity. He turned ZANU-PF into a personal fiefdom, disregarding its founding values. During November 2017, we risked everything, our lives, our freedom, our futures, to restore and defend our legacy, the party, and the constitution. Today, history is repeating itself in the most shameful way, Comrade President. Why we find ourselves in this situation is both shocking and shameful. Comrade President, on several occasions and even abroad, we have informed the nation that we are a constitutionalist, and yet it is now clear for anyone to see that the so-called 2030 agenda to extend your term of office is real and alive, and this has now taken us back to the ills that lead us to November 2017. Moreover, the drivers of this so-called 2030 agenda have now made corruption, looting of our state coffers, and bribery of our structures the cornerstone of their contribution to this campaign, and this is now destroying our party and violating our constitution. We are witnessing in shock as some of our officials in the party and government have now become a law into themselves and are even announcing to our people at gatherings that we are no longer holding elections in 2028. These are critical announcements on matters that we as a Presidium and the Central Committee have never discussed, nor do we pass a resolution at the last 2022 Congress. The reality which is clearly emerging is that this 2030 agenda is being funded and driven by non-criminals. We have brazenly looted our state coffers with impunity and are now using these resources, and whose capture and control of our party is unprecedented and deeply worrying. We surely cannot fold our hands and watch these criminals like Kudakwasha Tagwire, Wikni Jovayo, Scott Sakupkana, and Delish Guaya, among others, structures, and in the process destroy our party. Comrade President, these criminals and their associates have been engaging in a brazen and systematic campaign and stealing from our government, and to date they have stolen more than $3.2 billion of government funds through 10.1, the stealing of our $1.9 billion from the Ministry of Finance to Kudakwasha Tagwire for selling a 35% stake in Kuvimba Mining House. 10.2, the stealing of state assets like Sandawana Mines and the Zimbabwe Defense Forces Great Dyke investment by Kudakwasha Tagwire, and the inclusion of these assets in his fraudulent stealing of our $1.9 billion. 10.3, the stealing and consignment by Kudakwasha Tagwire of the party's 45% shareholding in Sakunda Holdings held by Mvuto Investment Private Limited, an investment vehicle of the party held through our National Reconstruction Group, which was purchased in November 2013. The stealing by Whitney Chivayo of $45 million of our money from the Zimbabwe Election Commission. The stealing by Whitney Chivayo of state funds more than $193 million from our government coffers through one bank in our country, and we know that he has stolen from some horrific amounts from our government coffers through other banks in our country. The stealing of more than $800 million from government coffers by Sikosa Kuphanya through the so-called gold incentive scheme, which has now been made into a target fraud. The stealing of $162 million of public funds by Delish Guaya through his irregular and inflated geopomona contract with the city of Harare. The stealing of more than $60 million of government funds by Delish Guaya through his irregular and inflated Clean Planet Resources contract with the Ministry of Health and National Pharmacy. The actions of these criminals, which also include turning your private office, Comrade President, into a place where the key government decisions are made, demanded that strong action be taken immediately to preserve our party and stability in our country. Comrade President, we discussed issues around the Land Tenure Implementation Committee, and we as a Presidium and Cabinet appointed the party chairman, Comrade Muchinguri, to lead this process and report back on how best we can approach this. But to our shock and disbelief, Kudakwashe Tagwire is now running with this and reversing the land reform program, completely going against the resolutions we made at the 2022 Congress. Furthermore, Comrade President, these criminals have polluted the concept of affiliates that we set up to support the party. The clear intentions that we had of how these affiliates should complement the party have now been completely hijacked by these criminals, and we are now seeing affiliates being more resourced and becoming more powerful and influential than our organs of the party. Comrade President, you recall I brought to your attention the Chiwenga'S project, which had been penned by Jonathan Moyo for our parliament to implement the so-called Breaking Barriers initiative, which is seeking to change our political system and suspend elections to 2035. Not only is this project treasonous and huge scandal, and is being done and championed by people like Jonathan Moyo, whom we fired from the party. This Breaking Barriers initiative has also been discussed and approved at the party's last Congress. No, yes, it has ever been discussed and approved by the Central Committee. We are now watching in shock and disbelief as this project is now being covertly implemented and being funded by these criminals, Kudakwashe Tagwire, Whitney Chivayo, Sikosa Kuphanya, and Delish Guaya and their associates. Comrade President, tirikuti vanhu ava Kudakwashe Tagwire, Whitney Chivayo, Sikosa Kuphanya, and Delish Guaya and their associates ngavasungwe immediately for these unprecedented crimes they have committed. Tingarambe takatarisa vanhu vachiba more than $3.2 billion in cash from our state coffers, where our people are suffering out there. Even Millie Meal is now running out because of maize shortages, while we are prioritizing paying these criminals. My hospitals are running out of critical medicines, and now the same people who are stealing our assets and resources are now using these resources to hijack power, corrupt our structures, and destroy our party. Comrade President, the time for silence and inaction is over, and we cannot allow these criminals we have stolen from our government coffers and our party to start using the same resources to bribe fellow comrades and our structures to get their support, defend and protect them. These criminals are not just enriching themselves, they are using their stolen wealth to capture our party, manipulate state institutions and compromise key officials. They are creating a power structure funded by the very state they are destroying. This cannot be tolerated for a single day longer. The time for silence and inaction is over, Comrade President. We as the party Presidium have serious issues to immediately deal with, that we define our future, and we must immediately prioritize cleaning our house, reclaim our state and our party from the capture by Kudakwashe Tagwire, Whitney Chivayo, Sikosa Kuphanya and Delish Guaya and their associates. We need to reaffirm the skilled principles of the revolution and our legacy. The future of our nation and fate of our people depend on the decisive actions we take now. I submit, Comrade President. So guys, that's the latest here. So that's the letter here, which has been circulating on social media. Guys, there's a lot here to digest, and in short, the man is just talking about what happened prior to 2017, whereby we saw the end of people like Xavier Kasukwere, Jonathan Moyo, and other comrades who were surrounding Mugabe, vachimhanya vananga Mozambique, vachimhanya vananga Zambia, South Africa, and this can happen also if the president won't take any measures against some comrades who has captured the party at the moment, the likes of Vatagwirei, Sakupkanya, Vachuvayu, and the name Delish Guaya, the Geopomona deal, and yes, some of these deals I ain't going to because there are other politicians who are involved in it and not going to benefit from those deals here. And I've seen Kuti in Zimbabwe at the moment, the rich are becoming more richer, the poor are becoming more poorer. Well, the rest people are suffering. I don't know if he's talking about this as the upcoming name in the presidential race, or he's just talking about this as a vice president who's trying to get rid of these guys who are corrupt. And remember, these are not the only people who are corrupt, in this whole government structure. There are so many people who are corrupt. Yes, their associates are corrupt, because there's no way someone else is gonna get rid of so much money while asking help from other people. Yes, we've seen the likes of Matanga, with the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, kickbacks 20% for my treasury bills, and the contractors in time. So there are so many people who are involved, but the corrupt. So these are just like the cartels, the big four or the big five. But there are so many people who are being mentioned, who are benefiting from those big five who are helping, because the same money ya kutora government the same money irikuzwa ku SANU-PF is sponsors wakari initiatives as SANU-PF vachiteza mari. The same person anenge achibvisa $2 million kuti support the conference, same person anatipa contract for government, the Ministry of Health. So it's a cycle which is going on, and these are the same people who are also buying the loyalty of other politicians kuti vaone rutsigiro, because they want to push their own agenda. So this is I would say a big scale of corruption which is happening, more than what was happening during Mugabe. And so we're gonna be keeping you guys up to date with the latest here on Daily News, Breaking News, Everyday News. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I tried to read. I don't know, guys, if you did understand what I was reading, but anyway, it is what it is. This is a leaked memo which happened by Politburo. The last Politburo I can take up 17 September 2025. This is Daily News, Breaking News, Everyday News on Prince Entertainment TV. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Bless up.